for alleged misdeeds dating back to the time when he was mayor of Paris. The judges authorizing that the trial proceed without Chirac. Chirac, who is suffering, according to a medical report submitted by his lawyers, from memory losses, what could be a symptom for Alzheimer's disease. We're talking about it with Anne-Elisabeth Moutet of the Sunday Telegraph, attorney Ron Sofer, whose practice is here in Paris, but who practices on both sides of the Atlantic. Also with us, Alberto Romagnoli of Rai Television in Italy, and Anne Navarro Pedro of Visão, the Portuguese news weekly. Before the break, we were discussing about Jacques Chirac's, the fact that these are, as Alberto was saying, charges that date back a long time. In fact, this weekend, for leaders of the ruling UMP party, who've just staged their end-of-summer seminar, they say it's best to let sleeping dogs lie at this point.
I'm very concerned by the former president's health, that's all I'm going to say.
I think we could have left him in peace.
I think his presence is not required for the trial, whatever the outcome.
However, for many in the opposition, that simply won't fly.
French people no longer accept a two-tiered justice system, one for the powerful and another for everyone else. We have to both respect the person Jacques Chirac, but also justice must be served, or finally served.
Now, not all socialists agree with Ségolène Royal, the mayor of Paris, reaching a €2.2 million settlement with the ruling conservatives over public funds owed by the Chirac administration in relation to this trial. Hence the anchor of the socialists' partner in the Paris Municipal Council, the Green Party.
Comme par hasard. Well, as fate would have it, it's on the eve of the trial that suddenly a type of medical document appears that was established several weeks ago. So we can see that it's all staged, managed, manipulated in order to prepare public opinion. And now you can see the crocodile tears of an entire section of the political class, both from the left and the right, with respect to Mr. Chirac.
Ron Sofer, a word on the timing of that document that was submitted.
Well, I think that a document was submitted to a serious judge who decided to accept it. It was done by a very serious and well-known medical practitioner, and it took a lot of courage to submit such a document. It's an embarrassing document for someone to say, I don't have the capacity to respond to the accusations myself. I don't think that it should be or can be taken lightly. And the judge actually decided to accept it. So I don't think that we can sort of dismiss this as a ploy. I remember that a few months ago they dismissed the request to the Constitutional Council on a constitutional matter concerning this case. It's perfectly normal that if there are any constitutional issues, that they'd be sent over to the Constitutional Council. I do not see this as a ploy. This is what the procedure allows, and if a judge decided that to accept this this medical opinion, then we should also accept it.
I believe yes, there was a build-up from Chirac's family, friends, political party, to make sure that we'll end up with this situation. He wouldn't have to stand trial personally. But I do believe as well, by looking at him and some of the things that have been said, and for having been personally confronted faced with the problem of senile dementia in my family, that there are some signs that could be, indicate that...
And you can be physically fit. And
you can be perfectly physically fit. And another sign, it can be just a tendency at one point of the illness, if there is one. But one of the signs is to speak up very freely and to say things with no fear. And maybe the worst thing that the ruling party might have feared is to have one Jacques Chirac standing trial and saying everything out aloud. I don't know. This is just a little bit cynical, but yes, I believe there is something, and I believe, as you have said before, the practitioner, the doctor who signed the report, the medical report, is a very highly considered person who would probably not put his career and his name at jeopardy in this case.
A document not to be taken lightly. Let's get a few of your reactions from the France 24 Debate Facebook page. Jdani from Kenitra, Morocco writes, Chirac is and will remain a great man. Anis writes, regarding the popularity of Chirac all over the world, why so popular? Mr. Chirac, for his part, did not wage war, and he was brave to firmly oppose it. Alberto Romagnoli, on both our English language and French language Facebook pages, lots of fans of Jacques Chirac.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a personification of this France that is can say no to the states or...
Over the Iraq War.
Yeah, and he was supporting the Palestinian people. I remember the pictures of him discussing with some Israeli cops when he was visiting Jerusalem. So, no doubt that he's very popular. He looks to me like kind of grandfather of French people. Everybody loves him because they remember the times that they were younger and France was different from today. But as I tell again, it's not a juridical problem. I think that it's a political problem. Somebody should have had the courage to say, okay, we forget everything, you are free. I think that the idea is they are giving him a sort of immunity, but finding different tricks, and this is, I think, is not very good for the public opinion.
He is a likable person. Jacques Chirac is a really nice person. I followed him during campaigns, political campaigns. He's amazing, the connection he has with people. Already he had memory problems then, because we would be like a group of journalists following him day after day, and we would only go one or two at a time in the shops, you know, while he was talking to the baker or to the whatever. And he would see us for the fifth time. He would go again, hello, shaking hands. No, this is just a little bit, it was true, it's just a bit of a joke, but he was a very, very nice and likable person. He had this huge appetite. It's notorious, his appetite, but it was true. To go after him during, political campaign, he would have like 3 lunches in 3 different places. You couldn't see any more food in front of you. And you'd go at it,
he would steal stuff from your plate, because I followed his campaign too. He'd have sort of 5 cafes and, try the sausage at this farm and that farm, and then he'd have 3 lunches with various people on the campaign trail, and then we'd have lunch with him, and he would steal stuff from our plate. Vous mangez pas ça?
And then at night, before, if you were really following him for a few days, you'll make sure, go to the hotel and see the journalist and say, after we've had 3 lunches, 3, tea moments and 3 dinners, you'd come and go, do you want something to eat? Are you okay? Do you want some sandwich? Do you want me to send up some sandwich for you? But he's generally a very nice person. This connection he has with the farmers in France, of course, it's part politician, it's part also his character. He was one of the first politicians in France to do something for very heavy mental psychotic patients. And there are some stories told by French journalists, François-Olivier Gisbert, to name him, stating that in the 60s, Jacques Chirac would go only with one nurse, a male nurse, to lots of small houses where these people, psychotic patients who were not really conveniently treated, and you take them and bring them to hospitals and make sure they are, and he did that with no publicity whatsoever. So this is a man with a heart as well, with a soft heart, along with a very hard, cynical heart of the politician. That's why the French like him so much.
He has, he's very human, he's very warm. And yes, that is something that resonates within the French, and abroad, the fact that he stood on one side that matters. But I would like to quote Nicolas Sarkozy, who was one of Chirac's baby politicians, nurtured by Chirac. And he says there's a misconception about Jacques Chirac is that he's not very clever and that he's very nice. He is very mean and he's very intelligent.
All right, so what happens behind
He is a very mean politician, but it's better to be a mean politician. But
from what you're both saying, a very good campaigner. Ron Sofer.
I think that people think that the fact that it has taken so long is somehow Chirac's fault. It isn't. Society has made the lawmakers, the Constitution has made the choice that a sitting president should not be prosecuted while he's still president, and that is a very legitimate position to take, especially after we all saw the fiasco of Bill Clinton having a civil trial and then being tried in the Senate, and basically
while he was a sitting president over the Monica Lewinsky affair.
Yes, and basically it paralyzed the government for 2 years, and it is perfectly legitimate for a constitution and for scholars and for the parliaments to decide that they don't want that.
Alberto Romagnoli, is it not the case in your country that the immunity of politicians is a topical issue right now?
Yeah, well, once again, as I was saying, politicians like immunity, but if they have a kind of immunity de facto, I think that it becomes a political problem. You were saying, we were talking about Clinton, but I think once again, even the trial of Clinton in the Lewinsky case was kind of a political issue. The Republicans at one point, they said, okay, we don't go on because the public opinion is supporting Clinton anyway, because Americans love Clinton, the economy is doing well. If we are going to damage Clinton for this story, it's going to be a political problem. So once again, when you have a political trial, you always think of politics. This
is the trial of a politician always a political trial? That's the issue.
That's I find interesting because we have discussed here about the private life of a politician. Is the private life of a politician private? No. No, everybody thinks that he is political, and so the trial of a politician is a political trial. So,
and you have the reverse. I mean, you have cases in which immunity is a good thing because otherwise, an unscrupulous government, we can look, to the east of the European continent, will put on trial politicians to destroy them. So the immunity is a guarantee against totalitarianism at some stage. I mean, it now is being used for other reasons.
And you also have to remember that this immunity for a sitting head of state is not a gift. I mean, they have to bear the thought that right after they leave office, they will have to face the police. They will have to face investigating magistrate. I don't think it's extremely pleasant. I mean, Chirac was probably thinking about that during his presidency. Bill Clinton had to face it. It's not a total gift because you cannot try a person while he's sitting in office, but afterwards it can be done. So it's not a free pass.
On top of it, Chirac left seemingly highly progressive law just before he left office, but it's also a poison present for his successors because it was before a French president could only stand trial for deeds during his presidency of high treason. Before Chirac left office he
modified the constitution.
He modified the constitution in order for presidents to be able to stand trial for other misdeeds during office years. And so that was a promise he had made 5 years before. That is something that is seen like, really progressive. But I think it's a little bit of a poison present for Sarkozy, at least.
Interesting take taken by, on that point, interesting take taken by Thierry Lévesque, a journalist for Reuters, who's been following the Chirac case for years. In his book, Intouchable, Untouchable, he argues that the case might have died a quiet death had it not been for the unsuccessful bid by Chirac's successor to get rid of investigating magistrates. The Chirac trial is that of the ruffled ambition of Nicolas Sarkozy, writes Lévesque, that of a justice system that would churn out convictions on an assembly line for small truants in the name of zero tolerance while staying far away from the affairs of the powerful, like the kings who once upon a time inhabited the Ile de la Cité. The Ile de la Cité is where the central courts are here in Paris. Is there the fact that Alberto Romagnoli was asking why this case has dragged on for years and years? Do you sometimes wonder, Anne-Elisabeth Moutet, why this case is in fact still going on, that it's a miracle to a certain degree that it's still on?
Jacques Chirac has got the best lawyers available in Paris. I think I recognise Georges Kirchmann. He's got other lawyers.
A former Georges Kirchmann, a former minister of his predecessor.
And a socialist.
Yeah.
But they have played every possible delaying tactic. Compare this with Alain Juppé, Chirac's prime minister. Alain Juppé has already been tried and served...
For the same charge.
And, served not a jail sentence, but he had a suspended jail sentence. He could not vote or present himself in elections in France. He had to go and teach in Canada, and he's back, and he now is the foreign minister of France, which shows that you have second lives in French politics. Jacques Chirac's trial was delayed since 2007. I'm not calling this very fast, but I think his lawyers worked very hard to get that.
I don't think it was... It was not delayed for the purpose of delaying it. It was they used proceedings that are available, and I think that contesting the constitutionality of a statute is a legitimate reason. You cannot say. The main reason why it took so long was because they couldn't try him while he was president, and that's something that the Constitution says.
Right, but it's been 4 years since he's no longer been president.
Well, as French criminal proceedings take a long time, whether it's Jacques Chirac
that's swift justice by French standards.
or anybody else. There are cases where people have been tried after 17 years of an investigation. So the fact that it took 4 years, that's actually very quick.
All right, one final thought. Ana Navarro Pedro, we mentioned earlier about the fact that Hosni Mubarak is on trial. Alberto Romagnoli was saying how all trials to a certain degree are political. How about this charge of gross neglect hovering over Iceland's former prime minister? Geir Haarde became the first political leader there to be tried over the global financial crisis. What do you make of this legal precedent? I know your country has a spot of trouble when it comes to public finances. Again, the question of...
The problems my country is facing come as much from, let's say, maybe political misjudgment as financial mismanagement. So yes, I think it's important to make politicians stand
to be accountable.
Accountable, yes, for what they do in office. It is very important in this situation because what is happening in world finance right now is really jeopardizing many, many lives, many families. It's jeopardizing our economies and our future. And it's important that as well, I, for one, stand for the fact that financiers, people responsible for rating agencies, people responsible for banks, should stand trial if they
should be held accountable.
Yes, and I think politicians too, because they are also responsible, very often for cowardice. But when you bid for office...
But it's another issue, pressing charges for cowardice. We'll have to bring that up, unfortunately, another time. Ana Navarro Pedro, I want to thank you. I want to thank Ron Sofer, Anne-Elisabeth Moutet, and Alberto Romagnoli. And thank you for being with us here in the France 24 debate. Stay with us. It's business next here on France 24.
In New York, a plane hit the building or a bomb went off. We don't know, but there's... I wanted you to know that I love you always.
2001, 2011, 9/11 remembered. They call themselves the Banner Danger, Mommy Few, or even Tokyo Girls. On the estates where they live, they rule the roost, using the internet and mobile phones to brag about their violent, provocative behaviour. Big cities and urban suburbs across France are their playground. Beware of getting in their way. In recent months, these girl gangs have grown. The attacks are becoming increasingly violent. We take you for an inside look. Reporters, tomorrow, 1:40 p.m. Paris time on France 24.
From the worst atrocities caused by man to a Bolshoi Brit taking a stroll in leopard print pants. It's all here at Visa pour l'Image. Join us as we help you discover the biggest photojournalism festival in the world.
Culture, Tuesday, 5:15 p.m. Paris time on France 24.